Hi, this is Melanie for the Pardesi channel. I'm here to do a film review of the Hindi film Newton, starring Rajkummar Rao. I finally watched it, and it's only about 2 hours in length, and it is such a little gem of a movie. This is the film that I believe was selected for last year to be submitted for the foreign language Oscar consideration. It did not make the final 5 for the Oscar ceremony, but it's interesting that this was the one that was chosen. I think that was a good choice because it's not an over-the-top Bollywood with songs and dance and everything. It has that independent cinema feeling that probably Oscar voters might have gone for. It's a political satire, which some of that just went over my head because I just don't have the cultural knowledge to really get all of the jokes, but the script carefully explained a lot of it. So I felt like I was in on a lot of the jokes and got the sly humor of this script. Rajkummar Rao, seriously, can this guy do everything? I mean, it's amazing. He is playing a character that's sort of nebbishy, like his Barely K. Barfi Sorry salesman. But this guy, this Newton, has a spine of steel. He's an unlikely hero who literally will go to the ends of having his face crushed into the dirt to make sure that people get their chance to vote. And I felt that the script seemed slow at the beginning, and then it's this force of wills between Rajkummar Rao as someone who has volunteered to work on this election commission or election board and administer voting for some tribal people out in the jungle, and he doesn't even know that a candidate has been killed before he goes out there, like the week before. So he has a military escort that has to escort him and the other workers safely to the voting site to get 78 votes from tribal villagers. And his military escort, the officer, is played by Pankaj Tripathi. Oh my gosh, this guy, okay, speaking of Barely Keep Barfi, he was the father in that film, and I thought he was fantastic. I've seen him in Gangs of Wasseypur. I've probably seen him in other character roles. He's just, maybe like the police officer or whatever. This one, I think, is the best I've ever seen him. He just had such subtlety to this world-weary character who's seen everything and is so cynical about everything. Like, why are we bothering to tramp through the jungle? I'll just have my soldiers do some votes and we don't have to go anywhere. We could just, And he's so cynical about everything. And then the opposite is Newton, who is so earnest, so rigid in following the rules, and also almost has this naivete, but an optimism that it's all worth it that carries him through. And so they're just diametrically opposed. Now, it's funny that Newton, his name is spelled like Isaac Newton. I didn't completely get the joke that he explains to a mentor that his real name, it sounded like Newton, but I don't remember what the meaning was in Hindi, but it was funny. And so because kids made fun of him, he changed his spelling to Newton like Isaac Newton. And there is a key thing about that, because what are Newton's rules? They're not mentioned in the film, but I was thinking about it. My husband was a physics major, so an object at rest tends to stay at rest. And the third law is, for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. And those are key to the plot. I have to hand it to Mayank Tiwari and Amit Masurkar for this gem of a script. And then Amit Masurkar is also the director. I believe this is only his second feature, so that's kind of amazing to have your second feature film be the one that they nominate to go for the foreign language Oscar. it just builds and builds and builds slowly, and you're experiencing the lull of activity because they're waiting for the voters to show up and so forth. Yeah, there's a character actor who plays the almost ready for retirement co-worker, Raghubir Yadav. He knows enough to bring a deck of cards with him, and then there's a whole story about him having to be escorted by soldiers to go to the bathroom in the jungle, all of this. So there's all sorts of, you know, interesting little things, but you're experiencing this lull in the action, and then the impact of the conflict in the final 10-15 minutes. Amazing. Amazing how this film comes together in those last moments. I really thought this was a great film. It's nice. It's only 2 hours in length. It's an amazing performance by Rajkummar Rao and Pankaj Tripathi. I thought they were both fantastic. Pankaj, he just has all these subtle expressions on his face of just, Rajkummar Rao just says these things. Well, are you going to put that in writing? You don't want to take me to the jungle? You know, just like constantly a stickler, and he just gets this like a quick wave of disgust will go over his face, or just a little rolling of the eyes. It was all so subtle and awesome. He just said everything with his face, even if he wasn't saying the words. Like, you knew exactly what he was thinking and how he felt about this guy with a stick up his ass who wanted to follow every rule to the nth degree. What an interesting conflict and contest of wills between the two of them. And then Rajkummar Rao is playing someone that's such an unlikely hero, and yet he is so heroic in the end. It was, wow. I was really amazed. Okay, spoilers ahead. So if you have not seen the movie, I've tried to keep it kind of vague, but I need to ask anyone who's seen the film, I need to ask a question about the sort of epilogue at the end. So again, spoilers ahead. Okay, we see 2 scenes of an epilogue after the whole big confrontation, where Rajkummar Rao's face is in the dirt and all of that, right? And he, you know, had the gun to the military to ensure the voters could vote. Okay, so then there's a scene in a supermarket, and we see the officer, Pankaj Tripathi, play, and he's got civilian clothes on, and he and his wife obviously can't fully afford the groceries they're buying. So was that meant to say that he was forced to retire and he didn't have enough pension? Or do you think he was kicked out of the military and therefore he was struggling? I was wondering what the implication was of that, or if it was obvious, or maybe it was left vague and we don't exactly know. But he obviously was not in the military anymore, or at least that's the way it seemed to me. Love to know your thoughts. Okay, then I thought the epilogue with Rajkummar Rao's Newton character was amazing. How that tribal woman who was their guide, you know, who was the local liaison, she comes to visit him, and I couldn't tell if he was in a government office or like an NGO or what. So that's one question. But I loved how he wouldn't even leave for lunch with her 5 minutes early to finish. Oh, it's not time for lunch yet. I have 5 more minutes. Like, I loved though how they kind of left it open-ended that maybe they would get together because she was waiting patiently there for the 5 minutes to be done. So she was very good, but to me, those 2 main actors were amazing. This film is available in the United States on Amazon Prime. So I don't know if it is in India as well, but here in America, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. And if you like this review, please press that like button, share the video, follow us on Twitter at PardeziYT, subscribe, and if you hit the bell, then you'll get a notification whenever I have a new trailer reaction or film review.